Welcome to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. I'm Alisa Agnes, your host, and I believe it's time to get real and spill some tea or coffee. So, today I'm starting a totally new cycle. It's called New Beginnings. It's the third one from my second poetry book, volume from my debut book. And so, that's a very typical, part of students' notes, because it's literally what the first poem about which I will talk today is literally my students' notes. So the first poem is called Modernity or the Lightning of Happiness, and the second one is called To the Owner of the Thoughts of Mine. And as I've already said, this first poem is probably the reason why I decided to name my second volume Students' Notes of the Eyes, because this is literally, as I've already mentioned, Students' Notes. And also let me remind you that Students' Notes of the Eyes is the second volume out of 3 from my debut book, Once Upon a Time There Were Two Poetry Books. Yes, so today I will talk about such typical, students kind of things, and at first I will just read you this poem. It's Modernity or the Lightning of Happiness. 1. All those things that I didn't do are falling on my head now. 2. All those words are important, but what's the most? 3. Standing in this warm, windy road, where shall I go? 4. This chaos hasn't reached me yet, but I'm in the middle of it. 5. Everything's new and terribly hard, but the lightning would hit me soon. So, that's this poem, and at first let me tell you a few words about the title. So I called this Modernity, and it's it's just about those times that I was in. My first lectures and classes at the university. And the second part of this poem is The Lightning of Happiness. So I was kind of wondering which title this poem should have, and that's why it's made of these two, and it's just Modernity or The Lightning of Happiness. So when it comes to the second part of this title, Lightning of Happiness, it's very much related with such a metaphorical situation from 3 years earlier, because I started studying in 2017, and 3 years later we had 2014, and the metaphor of lightning just means falling in love at the first sight. And in 2017, I was about to meet this guy again, and when I was at the university, it was just 2-3 weeks before this meeting. So I was simply thinking about this during my studies and lessons, and this whole poem is actually thoughts of a student that appear in the head during listening to the lecture. So it's like, um, you know, some things you didn't know before, or you just weren't as good as you should be at the school. So now when you study this subject, it's a bit hard, and you feel like you have to come back to some things from the high school. The second thought is like, at the lecture, lecturers keep talking, talking, and talking, and you have to choose what is the most important and what you have to write in your notes. So I was literally thinking, what's the most important out of all of this that I hear, And well, the third thought from this poem is, standing in this warm, windy road, where shall I go? So I guess it's just wondering what you should do in the future, because such studies that I had were made of so many choices, and so it was like have to choose what classes you want to go to and participate, and sometimes you just had no choice. But I guess it was one of those thoughts when I was simply wondering what to choose, you know. And the fourth, I guess it's this kind of feeling that I had, like, it's chaos, because you don't know what to do, but at the same time you feel like something bad might happen in the nearest future. And the fifth part and the fourth is just admitting that everything is just hard, because it's university, it's not school anymore. So it's obviously tougher because of this special language. And when you never met with the scientific kind of language, then it's really hard for you to understand, even though they talk in your own language, but you feel like you don't speak the same language because you can't understand what the lecturer is saying. And so yeah, so it's about as I already said, mainly it's made of thoughts that I had in my head during those first lectures and classes at the university, but at the same time I had in my mind that I'm about to meet this boy that I was, waiting to meet again. And this is why this poem is ending with the words, the lightning will hit me soon, because it's, as I've already said, referring to those 2014 days and just falling in love. But at the same time, I had a bad feeling that something might bad happen in the future. And unfortunately, few weeks after that, it was literally a month since I started my studies. I lost my home because of the fire, and there was the explosion of gas, and I couldn't live in that first flat. It was actually the second flat, but it doesn't matter. And so yeah, I guess I kind of felt that something like this might happen. And later you will have more of those hard, period of time in my poetry, because I was actually homeless for 6 months. I lived in hotel rooms, and all that survived that fire we had with each other. I mean, in those hotel rooms. So when we had to go from one room to another, or from one hotel to another, we had to carry all that we had, with us. I mean, with me and my parents. And so yeah, I was just 19 years old, and and it was November when it happened. So Christmas was at the hotel. My birthday in March was also in the hotel room, and celebrated. And later we moved to the current apartment. It was April, May, something like that. It was literally 6 months of living in hotel rooms, and then we moved in, and it was a bit easier. But to be honest, I felt heartbroken every time I thought of the fire, because it was a very traumatic kind of experience for such a young girl that I was. But I will talk more about this later in my podcast. So now it's time to move on to the second poem. It's called To the Owner of the Thoughts of Mine. It's a shorter poem, but it's some kind of riddle, and I really like this. I think it's very poetic, and maybe I will read you this at first. So it's to the owner of the thoughts of mine. Owner of my thoughts, owner of my heart, though your foot won't stand in front of mine, I do wait for your sky-high travels. You, whose name is close to Rose. So if it's this kind of riddle, like whose name sounds literally almost like Rose. I guess he knows, and that's all I can say here today. So it's a very short poem, and it's about just knowing that you really want to meet with this guy, but you also know that he won't appear, and after all, you still just wait for him, and to make him sure that you think about him, and that he's the one you think about, and who is the owner of your heart. That's why I put this little riddle at the ending with the reference to Kai's name. So that's absolutely all that I can say about this poem, because it's really, really short, but I really, really like this poem. It's a bit funny, to be honest, and if you know Polish, I really recommend to check out the Polish version of this on my YouTube, because it was the original poem, and you can hear rhymes more clearly there. So I guess it's all today, and right now I will tell you what will happen in the next episode, or in next two episodes. It's this time of the month when you can expect the new episode about poetry, or the new episode about a song. So when it comes to poetry, next to poems after these two that I talk about today are called Certain Rainy Evening. It's the reference to my poem from the first volume. And the second one is The Old Walls. I really, really like this poem, and I remember I wrote this during one of breaks outside, and there were benches out of trees, and sculptures of ancient goddesses, and just gods, and all those people that can make you feel like they refer to just those, I don't know, philosophical kind of Greece and stuff. I hope you know what I mean. So yeah, this is what will happen in the next episode when it comes to poetry. But when it comes to the musical bonus episodes, the next song that I will talk about is called Perfect. It's one of my favorite songs, and it's a very special song because a secret collaborator helped me with writing this one. I mean, I had total emptiness in my head when it comes to the second verse and bridge, and he helped me to write words to those. But I guess he also helped me a bit with the melody, but in the end, I guess he didn't like my idea fully. But I recorded a totally new recording this year, and I think he liked this new sound better. So yeah, this is what will happen in the next two episodes, but I won't tell you what exactly will happen in the next one, so it will be a little, surprise for you. And well, when it comes to the song, I will give you the full record on Patreon as always, and the sample will be available on my social media. So yeah, just felt like I had to add this sentence here right now. So I guess you know now everything, so I can only tell you until the next time. Yep. Bye.